Friday night, I want a Chippy Tea. Chippy Tea, Chippy Tea, I want a Chippy Tea. Oh, you can give me posh, no, she don't agree with me. I don't want lobster thermidor with raspberry coulis. It's Friday night, I'm within me rights, I want a Chippy Tea.
Turny P, by the way, I'm not having Turny P.
You typed it.
Does it save it?
Yeah. It'll just use whatever you had last time. Don't blame me. I can't wait to see it next Images magazine, and he's put it in even though you said, don't do that.
You better not have. You better not have.
I told him you'd love it, to be fair, so if he doesn't, it's my fault.
An hour and 15. I need to start getting the wriggle on.
Do it then.
Yeah.
Episode 30.
No way. 29.
Yep. Oh, let me fucking double check. I've wrote episode 30 in my book.
I'm sure it's 29.
Nah, episode 30. Yep. To be fair, episode 29 was shite, so we could probably write that one off.
So now, where were I last week?
France.
England. France.
Oh, you was in a chuffing Bates motel.
Motel.
Right.
Hang on, I've got a shitty message. Is it snowing at home?
No. Well, actually, I say that it could be. It's Shaky Wakey.
Shaky Wakey. Wakey Wines. Gala Gala, bingo bingo.
Chuffing crack dealer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's all come out with wash, hasn't it?
Convicted as well, yeah. You see, there's something wrong with chasing fame. You know,
there is a bit.
I don't know anybody, probably myself included, that don't have some sort of skeleton in the closet. Do you know what I mean? Something that
will come back and bite you eventually.
You've forgotten about. You give no importance to it. It never affects your daily life whatsoever. But if you start to dig, somebody finds, right, you used to do that, did you? You used to bully the other boys at school. Right, okay.
God, I'd get cancelled straight away. I'd be kicked off TikTok, no bother.
Are you on TikTok? Oh, TikTok.
No, I've got one, but I don't use it.
No,
Can't keep up with that rubbish.
It's for young'uns. It's not for old uns, it's for young'uns. Unless you're doing dances in your pants, it's not for us.
No, it's a powerful tool and it can be used very effectively if you can be asked and if you've got that level of maturity, which I have not.
No, immaturity. I took a video that did just under 1 million likes, 1 million views on Instagram. Put it on TikTok, obviously, because why the hell not? It's easy copy and paste.
Yeah.
So changed nothing. Did not. Fell on its ass. Lost out to a dancing emu with its pants on.
Oh, crackers. Crackers.
The world's crackers, mate. Just as we get older.
Yeah. What it is as well, the more you try to fathom it out, the more confused you get, so you just stop bothering. That's what I do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Leave them to their own crap. If you want to queue in a shop and pay 100 quid for some pop, that's fine. Some Ben Shaw's pop.
Yeah. Right place, right time.
Sometimes you just got to be there, haven't you? Yeah. It's the same reason people fail, but we never see the failures. We only see the successes. It's my bandit theory. My bandit theory. Do you want to hear my bandit theory? There's probably only you who knows what a bandit is.
Yeah, fruit machine.
Fruit machine, fruit machine. So I used to live in pubs and clubs and stuff where there was always a bandit in corner. And over time I realised that people only commented when you won.
Yeah.
So what that means is somebody would drop, these bandits were 50 quid, 100 quid. So somebody would drop 100 quid and everybody would go, look at that jammy bastard. It's just dropped 100 quid on that bandit. That's about as Yorkshire as I'm ever going to get, by the way. Where I am here now, saying that little phrase, he's just dropped 100 quid on bandit. There's not a prayer. What? Anybody in this country knows what that means. But anyway. And over time I became obsessed that nobody ever sat there and said, look at him putting a quid in that bandit. Looking at him putting a quid in that bandit. So nobody ever cared what you put in. Only people, the only people that ever cared were when you took something out. And they never put the two together. So they never said, look at him there, he's just dropped 100 quid on that bandit, but he put 97 quid in.
Yeah. Yeah.
They only see the 100 quid. It's just 100 quid. Look at him, he's just 100 quid on that bandit. And I think sometimes it's true in life. Sometimes people don't see
what you put in.
You know, what you put in, only ever that. Oh, look at him with his fucking McLaren F1. Look at him.
True. I'll take that.
A bit philosophical for this time of morning, wasn't it?
I used to have a mate who used to go out pubs and used to sit in corner watching people on Bandit, and then he'd time it. So he'd waiting for him to load Bandit machine up, and he'd sit there all day watching it. It was at you.
Me and my mate used to do it.
Yeah, and it's a good technique. He used to.
Mate,
I mean,
it works.
It's a miss, but he said it works enough.
I can't deny, right? So this is going back before, 17, 18 years old. Just starting out. No money. And I've known two of us, going to a pub, sit without a drink, and that's hard. To sit without a drink, without the landlord catching you. No. Watch the Bandit, and with our last 50p in the world, 50p between two of us.
Jackpot it.
Watch it. No, he was a drummer.
Right.
So there used to be a time on Bandits where there were a skill stop. Do you remember skill stop? So basically, the light flashes and goes up.
So you have to time
like
it.
That, and you've got to hit it on the 2 quid.
Right.
And he used to sit there going,
I could see why you're going now. Yeah, he could get that rhythm.
And he got the rhythm, boom, got the 2 quid. Every time 2 quid was a jackpot, by the way. I'm going back to shillings, almost. So he'd win the 2 quid. 2 quid a drop out, we'd go to bar, we'd get half a pint each. Why? To stop the landlord kicking us out.
Kicking you out, yeah.
Then with the other quid, we go back into the Bandit. And all we had, the skill shot was number 3 on the ladder from 1 to 15. So it was seen as a really low win.
Yeah.
Because my mate were a drummer, he got the rhythm right, and he won 2 quid, which was the jackpot, every time we got to the 3rd step on the ladder. And you could get to the 3rd step on the ladder really easily. So I've known us go out with that 50p, and come back 2 o'clock in the morning, absolutely arsehole, spent everything. 2 of us.
Okay, now. Unreal. My mate used to do that's now a gambling addict, so that went well.
I've actually not played a Bandit for around about 20 years now, maybe 25.
So if I leave this little preamble in, Americans will go, I'm just going to leave that one line. I've not played Bandit in about 25 years.
I think drop to quid in Bandit. I think that's the best bit. Drop to quid in Bandit.
My little trick was, so my little money spinner, when I first got going, well, actually, I think I was still in high school, and we'd got a vinyl cutter. I've told the majority of this story before, and we had a vinyl cutter. So I was doing Eat Press vinyl T-shirts at high school instead of going to school. I was selling them on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
But I used to go into pubs at 15, 16, and I used to drum up these sales for like all the local bands.
All right.
I'd write them all down on my phone. They'd give me money for T-shirts there and then, 15 quid or 10 or whatever it was, selling them it. And then a week later, so I'd get pissed that night on my money. A week later, I'd go to the pub with their T-shirts, and then I'd get some more sales. And I used to get pissed every week off of just selling T-shirts.
No way.
Instead of going to high school. I wonder where my brain cells have gone.
And this is why you're paying the price now.
Yeah, but fucking can't.
You made the choice. You made the choice. Now you've got to stick with it.
That was proper bootlegging, that.
Yeah, we will move on from what the actual prince said.
Well, to be fair, actually, that wasn't bootlegging because that were local bands who gave me permission to do it. I was doing it for them. But
Metallica's not a local band to you.
They started in Driffield.
No. Driffield's favourite. Death metal.
Marilyn Manson lived on the up road, I'm telling you. Fact.
Oh, dear.
30.
Right, let's go.
minutes left.
Right, I know, yeah. You know what I'm like. So, right, here we go. Welcome to episode 30, milestone. We've actually reached 30. We're all grown up and everything now. Of the Chippy Tea podcast. What is the Chippy Tea podcast? It is a chance, an opportunity for you to listen in on a conversation that happens every week between me, Tony P at Palm Print, and
Danny Day from Flip Sweet Pinko.
Over in Brid.
Over in Brid.
Over in Brid. We will catch up with whatever we've been doing, whatever has been happening in the world of screen print over the last week, and you can have this opportunity to listen in and hopefully contribute and like and follow and subscribe and all that crap. And I'll just turn my alarm off because it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And we can follow us and join us as we meander unscripted through what we've been doing this week. We will, as always, because it's now a tradition, throw it straight over to Danny, because I just love to see the fear in his eyes when I ask him the question, because he's got preparations, he's professional, he's done all his preparations, he's got his little notes, his little Google sheet aside of him.
I actually have this time.
Because it lights his face up every time he goes to it. And still, he doesn't follow it. He just makes it up as he goes along. So it's fine. And I'll ask you, Danny, what have you been doing this week? What have you been playing with? What's tickled your fancy this week?
Well, it's full production mode. I've made that switch. I'm back into it now.
Christmas is finished.
Again. Christmas is finished. 3 weeks late. 3 weeks into January. I'm T-shirt printer again.
Well done.
So I managed to keep 2 show and tells. There's quite a bit gone out this week, actually, but I managed to keep 2 interesting ones.
A lot more prepared than I am.
You might just walk up, that's why.
Yeah.
So here we go. I've done my tote bags.
Yeah, look nice.
Very
Did you use
nice.
water-based or plastisol?
Nah, I use plastisol. I know you said
down.
use Aquaflex. Yeah, and honestly, they look fantastic. You wouldn't know a difference. You won't be able to tell.
Good.
Maybe you.
Did you get much?
You particularly.
Did you get much show through on inside a bag?
No, a tiny bit. Now I'll tell you what I did do. Now, you might tell me off here. I took rubber off my palette and I painted it on metal. Now,
would I tell you off? No, I'd tell you to put the rubber in the bin permanently. We don't like rubber-topped palettes.
Well, you see, I brought this up a few episodes ago, probably like 10 episodes ago, and I came up with this theory, which you confirmed, that printing on metal is a much better surface. I'll get sharper, better prints. Yeah. But and this is why the MHMs and the Rocks, they've got the honeycomb metal palettes these days. Better.
You do listen.
But what you also told me was if I ripped all the rubber off my palettes, because I've got the M&R palettes, there's a chance the metal might warp.
Yeah.
So so for that reason, I didn't go ahead and rip every pallet to bits. But this particular pallet, my tote bag pallet, we're getting a bit grubby, a bit naff, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to rip it off, and I'm just going to see what happens. Worst case scenario, I've got to replace the rubber anyway.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm going to say. It didn't get as hot as the rubber. So the danger of it getting hot and warping, I feel like it's almost less.
So
but
I'm using warping.
Run.
I'm using warping in an automatic print run scenario where it's getting hit with heat every 3 seconds. So that heat is building. Now you're hitting it with heat maximum every 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds
on a 1 or 2 coloured run, maybe even quick.
On a 1 palette job as well,
maybe a couple of minutes.
Yeah, so it's getting lots and lots of chance to cool down. I'm talking about where it's getting heat and and it's retaining it, and then 3 seconds later it's getting another blast of heat. So we're actually building heat. I've said this time and time and time again. Certainly, automatic printing is all about heat management.
Heat management, yeah.
It's about managing that heat. And what does managing mean? It's basically don't add to the heat that's in the palette and don't subtract from the heat in the palette.
No,
so maintain that heat.
You need it hot.
You need an operating window between 60 and 90, usually, for plastisol.
Yeah.
And if you can keep in that window, great. But you drop below that window, it's sticky because it's wet. You go above that window, it's sticky because it's wet.
Mm.
And that's the key. That's the main difference between a printer with hair and a printer with no hairline. With
You
worry
bitch.
all the way back here.
What a bitch. What
Because
a bitch.
it basically you've got more face to wash now. It's fine. Is that you
I
on me?
know. It's my mum. She's probably asking me what I want for tea.
It's Friday. Tell you what, a Chippy Tea.
Yeah. Let's just
There you
keep
go.
up that illusion.
Let's go for the illusion that I don't even know what day it is, mate. Probably Thursday.
Thursday. So I ripped my rubber off my palette.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, so I think it gets less hot. But I've only just done one print run, so I'm gonna stick to experimenting on that. I'm not gonna go rip off all my rubber just yet, but just thought, yeah, that was an interesting find.
I'd love to know, and I don't know why the rubber's on. I don't know where it came from. Because as far back as I can remember, we always had a smooth, clean metal surface. And then rubber appeared on the M&R carousels, but not on the original M&R machines, because we had stuff like Solar Breeze and Precision that were just smooth metal polished pallets. Or wooden pallets, if I'm honest. I can remember wooden pallets.
Yeah, my first workhorse came with wooden pallets.
Yeah.
And they fucking just bubbled up and melted. I bought this workhorse for a couple of grand. And then next thing I know, a month later, I'm having to buy £1,000. In fact, I think it was like £1.5 grand's worth of metal pallets to replace them all. But I didn't know any better at the time. So. But anyway, what can you do? So yeah, that was a little experiment. I'm happy with my findings so far. The pallets haven't warped just yet. And this was my other show and tell, which I've just done. Nice little...
Oh, look at all that area.
Nice, isn't it?
Big area. It sort of scares me a little bit. You see
What
these
way?
prints, that heat and stickiness.
Where it pulls it back off.
It's the worst sound. It's basically how you strike fear into any printer, certainly an automatic printer.
Yeah.
Is the noise of
Yeah.
that noise.
Yeah.
I can't describe it other than
Yeah.
it says the wet ink sticks to the underside of the next colour. And it drives us crazy because it happens when it's too hot. It happens when it's too cold. It happens when the pressure is wrong. It happens when the angle is wrong, and it happens when the blade is wrong. And as I've been recently finding out, it happens when the screen tension is wrong. Yeah.
Stickiness.
So the
Can't make that
stickiness.
sound. Can't do
Try,
it. There you go.
practice. That
Can't do it.
noise. It happens when the flash is too low because the ink is wet. It happens when the flash is too high because the ink is wet as it gets too hot. It happens when the pressure is wrong. The pressure is too high. It happens when the blade is too hard. It happens when the angle is too steep. So these three things when we're doing... I'm just going to jump into automatic printing because it really does affect the blade, angle and pressure choice that you pick affects not how you print, but how you affect the previous colours. So you have to make that choice, that decision on this angle, which is going to protect the wet colour, or this angle that's going to rip off the previous colour. So as well as your choice of opacity and detail, which you're looking at something and going, right, okay, the detail on this needs that.
Yeah.
Because it needs that opacity and detail. But to protect the previous wet yellow, I need to do that.
Yeah, see, that's the type of thing that I wouldn't think of because I'm not an auto printer. And
Everything you print is dry.
Wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never considered how the angle can almost rip away the previous layer of ink.
Think about it.
When I have manually
This is going to rip off. This is going to protect.
This is going to smooth it over the top.
Yeah.
How interesting. Because, I mean, when you do print, I have printed wet on wet, and when you do, the previous colour always loses a bit of opacity because you're almost taking a little bit back off with you, which I guess you have to overcompensate for or consider.
Yeah, you have to consider. So it can also change the shade depending on the colour order. So 5 wet colours pick off against 3 wet colours picking off. If you look at the shade, it's slightly different. Opacity, like you say, the opacity changes a little.
Wow.
Which is why we write the colour order down, so that next time we do the job, we get the same opacity.
Yeah. Do you want to know how I printed it? It was Aquaflex, white, and obviously plastisol colours on top. No secret, that's what I do all the time, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I did cheat a little bit on this occasion, because I ran out of screens. I flash printed the under base, and then just put the colours on top rather than a highlight white. It was a bit naughty.
No,
you can get away with
naughty.
it on Aquaflex, so.
It's not naughty. It's a bit of it's becoming a standard with Aquaflex.
This is what I mean. If you did it plastisol, you're just asking for
you
a
wouldn't
world
do
of
it.
pain.
You wouldn't do it. There's too much
Aquaflex.
opacity, too much brightness, too much colour, too much area. So
Too
it's too
thick.
much heat, too much stickiness, too much thickness. But with Aquaflex,
More
base flash base is a good standard for not including a highlight white.
Yeah.
And for getting colours like oranges and yellows really, really opaque.
Yeah.
Because they're just not strong enough on their own.
No, they're not. They're too translucent. However, I was speaking to someone who...
Translucent?
I know some big words. Who was I speaking to? Green Kings. And he's been using the Max Opaque. Have I not Rutland? Union.
Screen Kings in Colorado. Black and white logo or blue and white logo?
Black and white logo.
Okay, I know him.
Check you out. You know them all, don't you?
Well, I helped him set up with his new machine, Screen Kings.
Oh, did you?
He's
like a nice bloke.
He's got a name, but his name's 2 initials, and I always get them wrong way around.
PJ.
LJ. JL.
JJ Cool, Leo.
Really nice guy, lovely guy. And yeah, he's dropped on Mix Opaque. Now, Mix Opaque is an old ink. It's an old-fashioned ink.
I had one single pot about 6 years ago, and it were like fucking cement. But I've been speaking to him. I want to give it a go. I want to go back and try it.
So
go on. Sorry,
I listened to previous episodes that we've done to try and avoid any repetition, and we've covered this on how inks used to be milled, which is squashed between rollers.
Yeah.
So Max Opaque is in that range where it's not milled loads of times. So it retains its opacity. It's got big particles in it that retains its opacity.
Is it PVC? Not PVC. Or is it acrylic PVC?
No, it's just plastisol.
Plastisol.
Straightforward.
Yeah, but plastisol has something in it, doesn't it?
You're thinking phthalate? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know. Because what I was going to say is PVC particles are thicker because they've not been milled, but it maybe in PVC.
No, it's the colour basically.
Oh, right. Oh, you actually told me this. Some like yellows, it's a type of metal.
They're all metals, so colour doesn't happen naturally. There's only 3 colours happen naturally. That's the red, the yellow, and the blue. So we can't make those; they appear in nature.
Right.
And I know yellow is chromium metal, and I forget what the blue and the red are, but they appear in nature. So we start with those, and we can't manufacture them. They actually appear, usually as a base metal. It's a titanium dioxide with the white. I think it's chromium with the yellow, and there's 2 others I can't remember because I don't pay much attention. I just print. And those have to be made small enough. They have to be milled. They have to be put inside a plasticizer. They have to be put inside a binder, and all this crap that goes on.
Yeah.
And then we have to push them through a mesh. So everything has to work correctly. And in the early days, the mesh counts were very low. The ink was basically put on with a trowel, and and we got the opacity. I mean, I first started printing, and we wouldn't dream of making a base. We didn't know what it was. The first base job I did was Winnie the Pooh, with. It's strange how some jobs stick in your head. I'm going back to about 1987 or 88 with Melvin Hall from Magna.
Yeah, Melvin. What a nice bloke.
And we were given the task of printing this Winnie the Pooh job, and it had an underbase. Well, what the fuck's an underbase? Why don't we just put it onto a shirt? No, if you put an underbase on, you don't have to do it. And it stuck like shit to a blanket underneath all the screens. It was horrible to do. It drove us both insane. I mean, we cracked it. I say we cracked it. He cracked it in the end. And it worked. But up until then, we were printing directly onto garment. We weren't putting underbase underneath and flashing it 6 times. What the hell's all that about?
Jesus, wow.
Because the ink was opaque enough. Who was the company? Coates. I'm sure it was Coates. Plaster something. Coates, I don't think it's around anymore. Coates.
No, can't say
They were
that.
bought out by Sun Chemicals and Marla.
But there's some printers who still cheat and flash print colours without a white underbase.
Yeah.
I know some prominent Instagram printers who do it, which is fucking wrong. How dare you?
But is it wrong?
Yourself. Yes.
But is it wrong if it works?
Tony, it is wrong.
It's
completely
not.
wrong.
It's not if it works. You climb down off that high horse you've got.
If you like crappy, thick sandpaper prints, and it's correct. But I don't.
You're throwing some shade today, you aren't you?
Yeah, you know what? You've got me in a mood going on about my airline.
Hey, you took it as being you. It could have been talking about myself. You took it as you.
Dear. But yeah, for people who do it. But this is why I feel guilty. Flash printing, even Aquaflex, and it's usually only it's a considered tactic. It's not something I do as a standard. But certain like that design, there's no real intricacy to it. It's white, 2 big, bold patches of ink.
It's those
so
big
it was
areas,
sort of easy to do. A sim process with lots of halftones, no way. I'd underbase and then highlight, as long as I've got enough screens.
Yeah, as long as you've got enough capacity on your press, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's unnecessary, because you can. Now, here's the thing though: you can flash print whites and Aquaflex as an underbase, but I think you still have to compensate for the ink expanding slightly. You know what I mean? If you keep putting print flash spread, and you endanger if you're doing a real tight sim process, the danger you have then is you start to see the underbase come out,
peeking through underneath the colours. Yeah. So, what we would normally do if we know, and this goes back to me prattling on for ages. It's the skill level. So I can automate every task. Yeah, I can basically get you a screen out the other end of the dark room with enough money spent with Joey from Crackhead Alley. Basically, just taking a screen, automatically coat it, no skill required at all. Automatically print it and image it, no skill required at all. Just pressing buttons. So far, all I'm doing is pressing a button. Put it in the developer, pressing a button. In the dryer, and it comes out perfectly made screen and no skill required at all. But what I can't teach any machine to do is look at the logo and go, that's on a 62 now.
Yeah.
There is no matrix, set of rules, guidelines, nothing. that can say, right, okay, that design you just showed me there, because I know right at the very beginning the easiest way is going to be 2 bases, I'm going to up my mesh count to something that wouldn't normally be okay. So 60 or 70 on the mesh count. Why? Because I'm going to put 2 layers down. Yeah. Well, surely you're going to put 2 layers down to make it brighter, but you're going to use a higher mesh count to make it less bright? No, because I'm going to put I'm building film layers. So because the film layers are going to add to my opacity, what I don't want to do is spread those film layers
exactly right,
by using 243s, because number one, I'm going to lose registration. Number two, it's going to look gorgeous. It's going to stop me from being stabbed as I walk down. It's going to protect me. So it's that, but that call, that judgment, that assessment is purely here. There's no rules for it, and it might be wrong. So I'm going to make the assessment, and I'm going to watch with interest what happens on press.
This is the thing. I mean, I've said this before. You can tick all the boxes which are on paper correct, but then on press it just doesn't work. And this is where you need that squishy printer mentality to
the squishy thing,
problem solve.
Yeah,
like you say, you can automate an awful lot of the process, but you still need a printer's mind in the process to almost check things over and come up with the initial setup parameters.
Yeah, absolutely. Two definite places. One is mesh selection, and the other is on-press parameters. Most presses that I use don't have number settings on them. Now, it's something that I want, but I can see why.
Settings?
So, the angle of the blade is a number. So it's repeatable. So it's between 5, 10, 15, 20. The pressure setting, the travel, this bit, has no numbers on.
Oh, doesn't it? You see, this is something I've previously said.
It's feel. Now, the Rock has a little guide with, it moves about an inch, and let's say there are 10 lines on this inch, but there are no numbers. The only numbers are, I think, at halfway and at full.
Yeah.
And I think it's intentional so that people don't get so stuck on the numbers. In that yesterday I used number 6 and it worked okay, and today it doesn't work. So I'm ringing the manufacturer up and going, "Watch your machine shit," because number 6 is not working anymore. So, and certainly on the M&R, it's a twiddly thing. Yeah. That's technical, that, by the way. That's not dancing octopuses. That's twiddly thing.
That's the actual terminology.
And they've got a guide, and it opens up and closes. Again, it's just lines, and it's very difficult to have a repeatable number, because what worked yesterday, what worked today? Different mesh, different blade, different ink, different temperature, different alignment of the stars. Whichever one it is, it doesn't always work again next day. That's where you need the squishy thing.
It's something I've always said, and I have brought it up before. I wish it was a feature, even on a manual press, where your off contact dials and your registration, I almost wish they turned in clicks. They'd have to be small clicks, but it'd be measurable then. So you could, I need to up me off contact by a click or 3 clicks. You know what I mean? Or even if it's like, I don't know, a mil. I mean, that might even be too high. I mean, for off contact, a mil click is probably fine. For registration, you need a finer.
The MHM has that.
This is what I mean. I wish
exactly
it was more
that.
standard
It has
on lower
one
presses.
click is a mil, but from 0 to 8. So you can physically set the front at 4 mil and the back at 2 mil, and then you've got that snap, that peel effect. So as a print goes like that, it prints and picks up.
I wish that was standard. That would make life so much easier.
You
need that accuracy.
The new M&Rs that are coming out, I think it's called the Cobra, they've got it as well.
Have they?
So the manufacturers are listening to us, and when we
specifically
say
us two.
we need, just me and you,
yeah.
When we say
somebody's got to.
we need we wondered who it were listening, to be fair. So can't just be my mum and your mum.
No.
So yeah, it does. Those features are becoming more standard.
Speaking of MHM, I see you has been fraternising with the enemy, have you? Hanging out with Mr. Rock.
You're not the only one to say that.
John Potter deleted me from his phone book, has he?
within a minute, I got a message from John. What are you doing?
Take that down.
He's here, so I met him last night as well.
To be fair, I saw John was travelling with Mr. Screamfit World, so...
Well, yeah, they're on the same plane, yeah. I mean, they've known each other for years.
Yeah.
I've known them both for years as well.
Industry, the key figures at the top seem to know each other. They all seem to come up through the industry together, it seems.
Do you know what the common denominator is? The link?
I'm trying to think of something funny to say, but I can't think about... No. Go on. Tell me.
It's not funny. Sericol.
Really?
Sericol. They've a lot of them have got the link of Sericol. So Sericol was a massive English manufacturer of ink. So there was a core group of people that worked in this industry as sales for Sericol, which meant they travelled around all the ink companies.
Wow.
And so a lot of them are linked by that. Now, John didn't. John was working for McPherson's. But a lot of the names that are still there, when you say they all know each other, usually the common link is that Sericol link.
Work together.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that Dave used to sell Sericol at one point? I'm pretty sure, like, before... Now I think it sells Amex inks now, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure which inks he sells. International Coatings, I think he does as well, a little bit.
He does now, yeah. See, I used to have to get that from our mate.
TW, yeah?
TW. And,
on the missing list.
On the missing list. When I could get hold of him. Shit, that was a bit naughty, wasn't it? And then Dave took over him.
Tony's absolutely renowned in the industry for not being there. Lovely bloke. I can remember Tony when he used to fix machines. So he was the engineer for Precision Machines. He was a machine tech.
Yeah.
So I used to call him out up to Leeds and he'd come and fix my machines for me.
Yeah. That's me. I get the impression that he's an engineer and he sells supplies.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a side business because that sort of...
No, it's become his main business now.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I get fractions of my supplies from everybody because you can't go to one shop that has everything that you personally like in your shop. So I have stuff from Tony. I have stuff from my old mates at Triangle Pyramid.
So Liam again, the Sericol link.
Bloody hell! Oh, bloody linked.
Liam used to work for Sericol.
Do you know what we haven't? Fucking typical. How's your week been? I think we've got some context. We know.
Not even ask me where I am. Anyway. Not even ask me where I am. You just okay. It's all you. I'm over. Obviously over in America. You know, I'm in California at Longbeach ISS Impressions Expo.
How long is that beach then?
It's one of the longest beach I've seen.
Is it? Longer than Bridge? Longer than Scarborough Beach?
It's from Bridge to Scarborough.
Wow, that's a decent
with Huntington in the middle.
Bet they didn't have any walruses though, did they?
But that walrus were having a wank. What's all that about? Just casually knocking one out on Bridge Seafront. What's all that about?
That's just common practice in Scarborough, mate. That's plenty of.
If you put a bit of Christmas tub on, all you do is just get your send down to Scarborough Front and knock one out while everyone's watching. I feel like that's my soul animal, is it? You know, when you connect to something.
Remember when we had a little preamble? It was on about all the skeletons in the closet. We've just discovered yours, Tony. Hey, good grief.
Yeah, so I'm over in
Longbeach.
in La La Land,
Ah.
and at Longbeach show. So the Longbeach show. This. Have we got time for me to wander off on tangents? I'm sure we have. This is how I started being a consultant. So this show has a real sort of affinity for me because I got asked to come across and help the current machinery dealer to put on this show. Now, being in the industry, I've heard of Longbeach. I had an expectation of it. I knew it was a premier American expo. Now, Americans have at least 8 that I can think of premier shows.
Yeah.
Las Vegas, the East Coast, the West Coast, the South, and the North. They all have these shows. Almost too many.
Yeah.
So in England, we have one. Printwear and Promotion. Happens usually in January at Birmingham NEC, and I used to go to it religiously. And we've had the discussion how it's just turned into a fashion.
Just a fashion show.
Yeah. So to know that America is still doing it, still taking equipment, and it's where any new announcements are made, new machinery.
All right.
So when I got asked to come across, well, basically, absolutely, yeah, definitely. And I did my first show over here, 2019, I think it was. Maybe, yeah. And I was still working for another company. So I did it on holiday leave.
Oh, a bit. Get that was quiet.
Yeah, I did it on holiday leave. I just took the Friday off and I was back in work by the Monday. Caught the late night flight on Thursday night, drove straight to Heathrow, jumped on the overnight red eye, got into California, Long Beach, and saw the setup of the show, worked the show that 3 days. Working the show is basically printing, live printing, and answering questions. So at the time, this company had just been allocated main dealership of the MHMs. It was previously done to another company. And they suddenly became the main dealer. So there were lots of questions about the press, technical questions that they didn't necessarily have the answer to.
Yeah.
Because the salesman at the end of the day, they've sold these machines, but they've never used them or printed with them. So another company was printing. I wasn't physically printing, but I was there to answer questions on the press. And after the 3 days, I'm sat on the plane coming home. I'm like, that was awesome. That was really awesome. If only that was a job. But, it's 3 days out of the year, so there's no way it can possibly be a job. You can't do that for a living 3 days out of the year. And it's expensive to fly over. It's expensive in the hotels and crap like that. So I thought it's not viable, but I thought would be great. And through lots of discussions and talking to people, it became my job.
Possibility
to help set up at these exhibitions and run. And that was my first experience. And it wasn't, got to be careful. It wasn't a positive experience. It was. Why? When I go into print, no. When I go into print shops, I'm looking. It's like my theatre. It's where I perform, so I can see all sorts of things that maybe other people don't see from just overexposure or lack of ability to spot things. So, although I did the show and I looked at it and I was involved in it and I was almost working the floor, it was really inefficient. Really inefficient. So
it bugged you how much there was to improve.
Yeah.
It was
all I could think of,
I can do this better.
If I was doing this, we wouldn't do that because we're doing that to make the printer's life easier. But really, we want to be showing that you can take a screen out of this press, run round the factory naked with it,
and then go put it in
clip it back in and continue to print. We can take a palette off by pressing a button and put it back in the same place, exactly where it was before. All these things that we can showcase live, and we didn't do because it seemed like too much like hard work.
But that goes against the mentality, like that goes against what the press is. That's what it's supposed. That's its selling point, isn't it? And
you've just hit the nail on the head there. The selling point. The selling point is what we should be showing, and instead we're just printing. Why? Because we're printers. And that's what we're doing. We're showing you. This is what it does. It prints. Can I just have a look at? Have a look at that. I've just got the temperature up. Don't change that because that pressure's set. Don't change that because then it'll go. All these little things that we're sort of like going. What are we doing? Are we printing or are we showing how good the press is? And so I was sort of like, we cut a really long story short. The next year, I did the whole thing. I showed the whole thing.
Wow!
So from start to finish, I was like, right, okay, we're gonna do a live changeover. I'll set it up while everybody's watching. You can put a timer up there, like a baseball timer, a basketball timer. And say, right, at 2 o'clock, Tony's going to change over. Do you think he'll do it in 6 minutes, 3 minutes, 9 minutes, 12 minutes? What do you think? And I had him done like 3.5 minutes or something. Full 6 colour changeovers.
Wow.
Set up in register.
See, if I go as a potential buyer, I don't give a fuck what my t-shirts look like coming off at press because that's absolutely got nothing to do with the press. That's to do with the person in the screen room and separating the artwork. That don't show off the press in the slightest, really, does it? I mean, it's sort of slightly, but
you're right. But everybody sees it as important. Plus, we're printers. I'm not going to show the machine off with a one colour print.
I mean, it's important to do something flashy, to do a nice flashy print, of course. But at the same, exactly what you said. If a buyer needs to know that they can run around with screens, completely take off screens out, put them back in, and it'll be perfectly in reg. And all the little intricacies and selling points of each individual press, that's what's important to know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And you've never looked back.
I wouldn't say that. COVID hit then, so we couldn't do anything then when COVID hit.
So if you picked up that job in 2019, did you say that was when you first went over to, what's it called? Longbeach. 2019. So it was only a
January 2019. January 2019. So I did 2019 and 2020, and then COVID hit. Just after the 2020 show, COVID hit. 2021, it didn't happen. Got cancelled altogether. Yeah. 2022, it happened, but everybody was a bit really cautious, and everybody had a mask on, and travel was limited. So this now, 2023, is the first time it's almost back to normal. Full gas. Nobody's walking about with a mask on. Everybody's shaking hands and touching people, and the Americans see this show as a bit of a meeting point, bit of a catch-up networking area.
Yeah.
So it's a chance to see what's new in the industry, but I've got to be honest, our industry moves quite slowly, and so new is a relative thing.
But there's nothing that you must have, I'm guessing you've been there, part of the setup process. You've maybe seen it all, or you've maybe seen some things before the general public have been allowed in.
Yeah.
Am I right? Right.
Yeah.
And is there anything so far that you're like, I've not seen that? Not a thing.
One thing so far, which is DTG related.
It's not that. What do we call it? Where the screen printed white and then put a DTG on the top, is it?
That's called hybrid. That's been around for a while. It's not that, no.
Express have just released a hybrid printer, which seems very slightly outside of what they do typically. Anyway, sorry, that had no relevance whatsoever. But yeah, go on. Something DTG related.
DTG related to its brother, and it's no secret, it's out. They've been showcasing it at a couple of shows already. And so I like the theory. I'm not sure yet on it, but I like the theory. So basically, put the shirt on a pallet. Put the shirt on a pallet, and then you've got the shirt on a pallet. Yeah, so you can pick the pallet up,
All right, yeah.
Put that shirt on a pallet into the DTG machine, clip it in. It prints. Then take that shirt with a pallet off and put it on a belt that does the pre-treat and the curing and the pressing and everything.
Right.
So we're basically automating the whole process. But instead of, because shirts are so flimsy, we can't move a shirt around automated. So we have to mount the shirt onto a pallet and then
Is it like
move
one of
the
those
pallet.
jacket clamps where it has like a surround that holds it in place?
A little, but it's... I think we're at the very, very beginning of this process, which I like. I really do. And at the far end of this process, at the other end, is the Amazon warehouse that's full of robots.
Yeah, yeah.
So already there's a company in America who uses robots to pick their garments, which
Really?
is awesome to see. Somebody shared this video, right, and I watched it once, and it was awesome. I tried to find more information on it, and I failed.
Yeah.
I just came up against brick walls. But basically, like a Ralloise or a pen carrier sort of place, but over in America.
Picking shirts
And it picks shirts, and these little robots run about with them and take them to where they should be.
Wow.
Really, really, really good process. I love the process.
I've seen the arms that take the shirts off the print pallets and then like flick it onto a belt. I've seen one of them before. I think that's a video that's done rounds.
Taking the shirts off a press.
So a screen print press grabs.
It's called a Predator.
Well, it would be, wouldn't it? It had to be an Arnie for it.
It's not a Predator. No, what am I on about? Oh, Jesus, I forgot the name of it.
Called Johnny Five.
It's an M&R. And it's been around for a long time, maybe 20 years.
Oh, wow. I mean, I didn't know.
The problem with it is QC, quality control.
Yeah. So when
it's got no idea where it's taking off. It's got no idea where it's taking off. And so, but when it was invented as a mechanical movement of the shirt, because the shirt's always presented to it in the same way off the machine, it worked really well, apart from you couldn't do the QC. Now, fast forward today, we've got fast scanning cameras and comparison programs, software comparison programs. So it's very easy to put a camera on there now and actually get it to look at. Right, this is what it should look like. If there's any deviation, just flag it up and stop.
Yeah.
Jesus, it starts with a P.
It's bugging you that, isn't it?
The name, yeah.
Starts with a P. Right, what Arnold films start with P? Terminator. No, not Terminator. I don't know. It's funny, actually, because Monster Press did a little Q&A the other day, as you very well saw, and they made a comment that DTG will take over the industry one day, just not anytime soon. What say you? Because I think we've touched on this, and I think you say it won't.
No, it won't. It'll always complement it.
I think there's room for, yeah. I think I must agree. It's like it's just different uses, tools for different jobs. I guess
it complements it. You know, you look at a job and you go, "This will work really well on DTG." That job you've got there won't work on DTG.
No, it looks shit.
Can I do? No, it won't look shit. I can make it look good, but it'll probably cost me about £4 worth of ink.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I'm not going to do it because it's going to take me a long time because it's a big area. It's lots of coverage, and basically, it's not cost effective. Oh God! Again, I'll jump off on a tangent. It's normally your job, but I'll jump off on the tangent. I had a DTG machine, and I was tasked with finding the optimum settings to make it look good. It's something I'm very good at, playing about till it looks good. And I managed to get the test sample print that we were after absolutely gorgeous. And I mean, I was blown away with it. It looked awesome. And so throughout the process, I kept going to the owner, what about this? It needs to be brighter. Change something. Change the settings. Change the file. What about this? Yeah, I like the yellows, but the blues are a bit dull. Go back. What about this? Yeah, that's awesome, Tony. That's one of the best I've seen. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, love it. All right, okay, so can I print these? Well, no, just run the calculation. How much ink does it use? What? Well, the machine will tell you how much ink it uses, and we pay this much per centilitre, so just tell us how much ink's on there. Oh, so I got back. £8.23. What? You've put £8 worth of ink on a £1.50 T-shirt? Can you see how that's not right? I said, yeah, but do we agree? It looks awesome. It looks fantastic. But it's not economically viable.
No.
I can't sell it. There's no customer in the world that's going to give me £8.50 just to print. And that's just covering costs. That's without any labour costs. So you'll have to dial it back down again. So I dialed it back down again to about £2. And it looked okay. So this is the trade-off. I could make that shirt that you've got there, but I'd probably use about 8 quid of the white ink, because that white ink is more expensive than fucking human blood.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because ink, plastisol, water-based screen printing ink. Now, I'm wondering, is part of the... So I won't say the statistic. I don't know if this is true, but inkjet ink per square, I don't know, milliliter, whatever it comes, whatever they measure it in, is actually more valuable than gold, or it costs more than gold per. Yeah. Now, is that the refining process? Does it use? I don't know. Does digital ink have a refining process?
Yeah, because you remember going back to titanium titanium dioxide, the white metal.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
assume the cost is because of the process.
The expensive bit, and then now we've got to, we've got to mill it 3 times to push it through a mesh where the holes are that big. Now I've got to push it through a piezo head.
Tiny
where the holes are actually you can't even see them with the naked eye. So I've got to make it really, really small. So obviously the process in there is really, really good. And then I've got to make it so that it's in a stable suspension and it doesn't separate. Yeah. Which way you'll see on most DTG there's a recirculating.
All right, yeah.
So they've got a little pump running all the time, which just mixes up the white ink. Because if you leave the white ink, that heavy metal that's in there that makes it white settles to the bottom. It even sits on the bottom of the pipe.
Yeah.
So we can't leave it alone. We've got to keep pumping it through and recirculating it. Keep it moving the whole time. Otherwise, it sits and just gets a heavy deposit at the bottom.
I have the same problem with a large format printer. I guess it's the same thing. You've got to keep them printing. A large format printer, if it's as a business asset, they're fantastic tools, and if you can keep it turning over, get one. But if it's a side thing, I'll do some stickers every now and again. Don't do it, because you'll fuck up your print head. Like you say, it'll settle and it'll dry, and before you know it, you've got £6 worth of new head to buy, and your 10 grand machines now cost you 15, 20 grand every couple of years. So interesting. So other than that, not much. Just typical. What you're saying is nothing new, nothing outstanding.
Is that where we're going? I've gone off on so many tangents. No, you would be like a dog with 2 dicks at one of these shows, and it's my mission in life to take you to one of these. I think you should clear your diary in May, because there's one in Berlin and then there's another one in Italy. And number 1, get you on a fucking plane for a start. And number 2, get you to one of these shows where you can physically see every manufacturer of press. So you can see the difference between them. No, you don't have to get a salesman to explain everything to you. You can see how some lift the pallet to the screen, and some lift the pallet to the screen to the pallet, and some drop the whole lot, and some drop individual. Yeah, and you can see all these little nuances, these little differences that make the decision for you as to which one's the best press for you.
So you're off to Berlin, are you? Berlin's a big one, isn't it? Is that Vespa?
Vespa, yes, there's one in Vespa and there's one
in
Itmar in Milan, yeah. Well, again, Vespa used to be every 3 or 4 years. So it was a big one, because if you were bringing out a machine, you would time the launch to be at, the next Vespa, which was like the Olympics every 4 years. And then they did it every 2, and then they did it every year, and I think there's maybe 6 a year now. So they do a Vespa in Asia, they do a Vespa in...
Yeah.
It used to be a world global launch. Again, everybody gets greedy. You've no
I did
idea
this-
how much it costs to put on one of these shows. The only people that make money at these shows are the organisers. NEC at Birmingham.
Oh,
they
yeah.
they make
It's
more
a
money
bit
than
of a-
anybody else.
Yeah, it's a bit of a. If you're displaying at one of these shows, you're not going to make money there, and then I guess it's a long-term investment. You look at it as
It's marketing. It's advertising.
yeah, marketing. Very expensive.
There's always the argument that if you don't turn up, people don't know you're there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you don't want to be left out, do you?
No.
So I did this last year. Having seen a lot of the stories on Instagram, your pictures, and there's a lot of printers there, or a lot of printers going. We're all talking about it. This time last year, I had the same thought, and I'm starting to have the same thought again now. And I'm thinking, I won't mind going. I'd like to go to one of them one day. And I was thinking, it was only today. I was thinking that 5-year plan. Maybe I just go to Longbeach just once.
Absolutely.
Next
Stick
5
in.
years.
You need to go once, yeah. I've been to bigger shows. It's not the biggest show, but it sits in the American mentality of it's January, so it's quiet.
Yeah.
So the industry's quiet, which means I don't lose too much production time by sending my staff to a show.
Yeah.
Number 2, it's California. Chances are weather's going to be good. And if you're currently up in Minnesota or Wisconsin, where there's 18 inches of snow on the ground for the next two months, the chance to nip down to the beach for a weekend and look at some
Sounds
print
all right,
stuff,
doesn't it?
and knowing that all your mates are going to be there, is actually it's quite appealing.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't sound too bad.
forget the fact that you want to buy a press. You don't want to buy a press. What you want to do is catch up with the guy that you've been talking to on Instagram. Monster Press are coming over. I think the guys at Monster Press are going to be here.
Yeah.
So,
It's amazing how
and
many are going to be there.
all the guys that I've been talking to on Instagram, I've met
You'll
here.
bump into quite a few. Yeah.
I'll bump into here, yeah. And this is the only opportunity I'll get.
Yeah.
You've seen who I've been speaking to, and I'll never get a chance to speak to those sort of people unless I physically go out my way to go find them.
Yeah.
And that's not just me, that's the same for everybody that comes to this show. They all want to meet up with their mates and have a beer,
have a skinful of
have a jar.
dinners, a couple of jars. Right, Tony, I need to
Aye.
run for a wee. I'll be 2 seconds. I hate to interrupt it, but I'll be like literally 2 minutes.
Did you not have a preemptive piss?
I had 3. I've got an issue with telling you.
I'm really sorry, but while you went for a wee, I picked my phone up and I've got 25 missed calls and messages. So
Yeah. What, people at work? At show at work?
yeah. So we've set up a press, and we've set up the all singing, all dancing electronic registration press. So your registration
Yeah.
on the press at the minute. You've got a fucking hammer, knowing you.
No, I am actually. I am.
Give it a tap.
No.
Well, fast
dare
forward
you.
to the top of the range machine, and we've got digital registration. So here now we've got the whole press. If I want to move it left at the back, 0.1 of a millimetre, 0.1 of a millimetre. So that's 100th of a mil, or as we call it, a cat's cock hair. I can press a button on the control panel, and that'll move my head 0.1 of a mil at the back.
Do cats have cocks? They're spiky, aren't they? I've never seen one, but someone told me they're spiky. Sorry, yeah.
If
Move it
that's
like-
on your bingo card, fucking well done.
You just anyway, yeah.
So
You're on about
electronic
the system
registration.
that- where I've seen this now. I think does it like line itself up to crosshair
Yeah.
a registration mark?
Yeah, and then while you're running, you can actually make adjustments. So imagine
Right,
that the whole frame holder has GPS, and it's got a set of coordinates. At the back is Y2, at the front is Y1, and straight up and down is X.
Yeah,
So you can change those values and move the screen
yeah.
from the control panel from the iPad,
Oh wow.
and
Wow.
that's been around for 25 years.
Well, the technology, I assume, is somewhat similar to if you go back to, if anybody who listens does anything with vinyl, and I'm going back to my signwriting days. you could print your registration marks on a large format printer and then put it in a plotter, and it'd have like a little laser dot out each corner. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's somewhat along them lines.
Well, no, because that uses optical recognition.
All right.
So this system doesn't use optical recognition. It's just basically a way of... It's a digital registration knob. So you've got your registration knob that you turn left and right to make your screen move.
Yeah.
Well, just take that physical plastic bit off and replace it with a step motor with a digital display.
All right.
So you can see how it moves and how it rotates. What that does, that gives you a chance, that gives everything a value. So once the screen has a value of a GPS location of where it stays, you can take it out and run another job. And then at any point, just press right, load job number 1 back in because it's come back in. So then it does the auto reg.
Awesome.
When things have an electronic value, that recall is great. So this is one of my bugbears. You've got me going today. So this technology, I took a machine out of a place in Leicester. It was brown and gold, an SP2000, and we're now on SP5000s. And this machine was about as old as my kids. Still perfectly working, still running, and it had electronic registration on it, which still works. So this technology has been proven. It works. It's been around for over 25 years. Why the hell is it not standard?
I was about to say, you only see.
Why are we still hitting stuff with a hammer? Why are we still using pneumatic clamps that make the fucking screen jump? It's my version of electric windows. Right, I'm old, right? So I can remember my first car, you had to go like this to open window.
Yeah.
You know, and if you wanted to open a passenger window, you had to go like that.
Yeah.
The story goes that Volvo, who make the trucks, realised the problem with having a truck with the passenger window 8 feet away from you. You couldn't lean over and go like, that's this great viewing. So they invented putting a motor on the window and having the driver's button. And I can remember buying a car and sort of like, optional extras. Do you want a spoiler? Do you want some go faster stripes? Do you want some bad boy wheels? What do you want?
Do you want some
18-inch rims and some eyelashes on. And one of the options you could have, do you want electric windows? You're like, what? Electric windows? It's a couple of grand, but you press a button and the window opens. No, I can just do this. I'm fine. If it was free, I'd probably think about it, but it's an extra £2,000. No, I'm not paying £2,000 to have fucking electric windows. Car's only worth 50 quid. So it's an old Ford Escort Mark II.
Yeah. Probably wasn't with them nowadays.
Oh yeah, I've had so many of them. And then now, you look at it now, and it's absolute bog standard. It's the minimum level.
Oh yeah.
There's no way you'd buy a car with windy-up windows.
No.
Not a prayer. And so it's not even become expensive. It's become normal. It's become the standard. And I want electronic registration to be the standard. I don't want to buy a press with it not on.
Well, you're
It
in the right
makes
place
no
to tell
sense.
people, aren't you? So.
Do you think I haven't? I've told everybody this. And they all say it's all about money.
I was literally just about to say, is it expensive?
It's an extra 30 grand. So you can buy the machine as it stands, and then for an extra 30 grand on top of the price of the machine, you can have electronic registration.
Good God.
And that's why people don't do it. Although I must also say other people have tried in the past and not been able to get the accuracy. So to get the step motors to move 0.01 of a millimetre, that's 100th of a millimetre. So to get that level of accuracy is difficult.
You think John has forgiven you by now? You've done some grovelling today, haven't you? Sorry, MHM. I didn't mean to go over to rock camp. Best machines in the world.
I haven't finished yet.
Oh God.
Yeah. So yeah, I've done that. Was a little bit of an MHM advert on it. So Apologies. But it is, so far, the best system I've seen for,
Can't argue.
you know, drag everything into the 21st century, for Christ's sake. Why? I was at the last 2 jobs I were at, if they didn't have a hammer, it couldn't move the screen.
Okay.
Simple as that. Because the system of clamping a screen.
Yeah.
Now I'm clamping it. Oh, it's time for me to get up. Look, you clamp the screen, and now if you want to move it, you have to release whatever's holding it to move it.
Yeah.
The act of releasing it moves it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but also
it moves it.
Retightening it moves it,
and retightening it. So that action moves it.
Yeah.
So another little MHM advert. Sorry, I'll slip on. The Austrian manufacturer of the machine holds the screen that way.
Yeah.
So it holds it like a vice clamp, which
Top
means
and
now
bottom.
I can now move the screen while it's under tension. I don't have to release the tension to move the screen, so it never jumps. So that whole system, invented 30 years ago, nobody else has copied it. Everybody still goes like this and still holds it down in a clamp system. The only thing they've done is, instead of winding the screw down to clamp it, we've got a little air switch that clamps it. So, and that's the only difference.
Yeah.
But still, the air clamp is so quick and fast, it jumps the screen a little bit.
Yeah. It's good. Well, there's got to be some movement, no matter. Like I've said, I'd love air clamps, but even that wouldn't eliminate the chance of it moving. But it would.
You still use a hammer.
Bit.
So I've worked on M&Rs for the last 3 weeks, and if you look at an M&R press, they have 2 switches for the front clamp and 1 for the rear clamp.
Right.
So
yeah, like next to like little metal things.
Yeah, so little toggle switches from 80s.
Yeah.
The screen's clamped front and back, and I see people trying to move the screen, and I asked a simple question. M&R are a machine manufacturer, so they obviously look at every component on this press and think, how can I do it cheaper? What's the cheapest I can do this for to save money? So why do you think they put 2 switches on? Why don't they just have 1 switch, to loosen the air and put the air on? I don't know. Well, I'll tell you why. Because you should always keep the front clamp clamped, because that's where the floating head is. And the back clamp you should release. Take the air off. Why? Well, you try to move the screen, but you can't break the weld of the frame. You can't make it go in at the top and not at the bottom. So if you move it at the top, it's got to move at the bottom. But if it's clamped to the bottom, it won't move. So you put it under pressure. So you must release the clamp, move it, and then clamp it again.
Yeah.
You've got side clamps, I think, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you've got a floating head.
Yeah.
So imagine if you had clamps all the way around.
Yeah.
You'd have to release the front one so that you could move it up and down.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that's the same on all presses. You can't just move the front of the clamp.
No.
So you've got a clamp going like that. This
Yeah.
is great for people not on Spotify. So you're holding the front of the screen and you're holding the back of the screen.
Yeah.
To move it, you have to release one of the clamps.
Yeah.
Yeah? So that you can move it and then reclamp it again.
I am with you. I know I look harmless, but I am with you.
You do look harmless today. I don't know what it is. There's something different about you. So, that system is generically flawed in that you have to release the pressure to be able to move it, and releasing the pressure moves it.
Yeah.
And so, all right, one manufacturer has looked at that and solved the problem. Great. But none of the other manufacturers seem to think of it as a problem. They just give the printer the problem. That's your problem.
You know what?
You need to get better.
The screen print industry needs to be more F1. When a team comes along in F1 with a new innovation, everybody does one of 2 things: screams about them cheating,
or copies it, or both.
Yeah. Well, no, usually it is simultaneous. because scream about it would cause a lot of disruption, a lot of headache, a lot of stuff, and then usually what happens is the FIA say, all right, well, we'll make it so that you're allowed it now, by which point the teams have already copied it.
I can remember one team coming out with 6 wheels. I
can't remember that. I'm not that old. I know what you're on about.
They put a double axle. Yeah, double axle on the back.
Yeah. And actually, they got away with it for like 2 years, didn't they?
No, it didn't get away with it for long. A couple of races.
Oh, was it?
But everybody was like, that car's got an extra 2 wheels.
Yeah.
Look at the rule book. Doesn't say car have 6 wheels. Doesn't it? No.
Now then, do you know who did that? That was Bernie Eccleston, wasn't it? Was that Bernie?
Yeah. It could have been, yeah. It could have been.
I seem to remember he did. That's fucking typical Bernie, that. Yeah, be a bit more fun, screen print industry. I know I said screen print world, not you, Dave, just a bit industry in general.
Absolutely. And I'm lucky enough to have the opportunity to work with machine manufacturers. And trust me, I tell them. I tell them exactly that. The NHM guys have said, right, okay, Tony, make a list. What? Make a wish list. What do you see that needs changing every day? Because nobody tells us. Really? Yeah, people just put up with this shit. Stop putting up with this shit. Moan about it. Complain. Tell somebody.
Well, you know what? Even on a very minuscule, silly little level, like if I do a bad print, there are some people who, not bad print. I never do bad prints, but you know what I mean. If it's just something that somebody's not happy with, you need that feedback because then you never learn, you never improve. And some people are just polite. Some people are just absolute
assholes.
But some people are a-holes who invent problems, whereas some people, if it's just something that's eating away at
there are some people, I says, who will find a problem for every solution.
100%. I've met a couple of them.
I work with a few.
The rest of the industry says that's you.
I know, yeah, probably, yeah. Fucking Tony.
Dear. Right, what you like for time, Tony? Because I know you've got to get to the old Longbeach.
I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. I apologise, but I am running out of time. I'll make up for it. I'll send some sneaky shots over.
That'd be good.
Some exclusive Longbeach content on Chippy Tea official. So make sure you're you're following Chippy Tea. I won't post it on my post. I won't post it on Danny's. I'll post it on Chippy Tea official. How's that?
Now then, end of January, I want to be up to 100 followers on Chippy Tea. I think we're on close to 80. I only need 20 more of you to follow us. So
awesome.
Chippy Tea official at Chippy Tea official, and you'll see Tony's sneak peeks at Longbeach. And then this time next year, or sometime in the next 5 years, I'll be there in person and I'll do some sneaky peeks.
Definitely come. And we'll try and sneak. Get your passport.
I've got a passport and that. I nearly went to Iceland.
Do you know how much it cost for some frozen food? Do you know how much it cost me?
I just went about for my dinner.
Do you know how much it cost me to fly to France?
I have got this inflated sense of how much going abroad costs to me. And I know this for a fact because I had a girlfriend who was going abroad all the time. And when I got with her, she was like, "You're an idiot. It does not cost you £50,000. Shut up. Don't you
had
dare
a
say
girlfriend?
I knew you were going there. It was before I cut my hair off.
You even had a shave and everything, hadn't you? You had a promise.
I know. I just practice. It's me once every 3 years shave. I do it. That's what I do. I usually do it in winter when it's really cold. Just, I don't know, just dab a bit backwards.
So I flew to France for £16.
What?
£16.
I thought you were going to say £1,600, but 16
My
quid.
taxi to the airport was £20. So it cost me more to get to the airport than fly to France. So if you're flying less than 90 minutes, you can get there really cheaply on Ryanair, EasyJet, these sort of places. I used to go to Mallorca every year for £20.
Unbelievable. This is what I mean. I've just grown up with this sense, this wrong impression that anywhere abroad is like thousands and thousands and thousands. You have to save up for a year before you go.
No. Hotels are getting a bit more expensive around the world now, just in general. I don't know why. Just in general, getting a bit more expensive. But, you know, you don't have to. You can stay in Bates Motel like I did.
Well, you know what?
It doesn't cost you a lot.
Maybe.
We're going to Berlin.
I'm literally about to say, maybe I'll go to Berlin. Take my camera. We'll do some Chippy Tea YouTube channel blogging.
Don't forget,
you're going to be working it, are you?
Yeah, but you can get on the plane. So leave your house at 6. Get on the plane at 9. Yeah, fly over, do your stuff, take your pictures, and catch the 6 o'clock plane back home. You don't have to do overnight.
Right, let's seal the deal, cement it. I'll go to Berlin. I'll take some behind the scenes, and I'll go look at some machines in Berlin in May, whatever you said it was.
I think it's May, yeah.
And I'll come see you when you stand.
Right.
Deal, sorted.
Awesome.
Vesper, Chippy Tea at Vesper. And we'll have to do 8 episodes whilst we're here.
Gotta get Vesper to sponsor us now.
Well,
mentioned them that many times.
Yeah. Get Vesper and Rock to sponsor us as well.
Hey, steady on. There's a line.
Carried away. Get a grip of yourself. Right, episode 30, wrapped up.
Right.
Sign us out, Tony.
All that remains is for us to say thank you for listening. It is a bit of a short one, but there'll be some bonus content through the week, don't worry. We are on Spotify. We are on YouTube. I don't think we're on out else yet because Danny's not figured it out. But we don't need to because that's all everybody ever listens to anyway. Yeah, those two are easy enough. It is really important to us, to the algorithm, and to mine and Danny's
ego,
really precious ego that can be upset very easily, that we get some followers, some likes, some subscribing.
Remember that bloke who followed us on Instagram, the Chippy Tea account, and he liked every single picture apart from mine.
You found me out.
I did was message Tony and said, I don't like this bloke. What's going on here?
You might like yours now you've had your haircut.
Yeah, never.
So press the like button. Press a comment, even if it's just a silly little comment. All the interaction counts on the big evil algorithm in the sky. It's constantly looking at us and watching us. So, yeah, it's really important to us that we get some interaction with you guys. And it lets us know that it's not just me and Danny talking to ourselves. We'd probably still do that if it were.
I'm fine with that, but...
Yeah. But it's nice to get some acknowledgement, some recognition that people are listening and they like what we prattle on about every week. So from a sunny Longbeach,
Yammy bastard, miserable as out here. Not far off.
It's snowing in Wakey. Yeah. So from us, then it's see you later.
How do Americans say it? Catch you later, partner. Or is that just cowboy films?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what sort of films you're watching, but yeah. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Right. You have a nice day now.
Y'all look after yourselves.
Y'all. Yes, so we will wrap that up. I'm going to go get busy and start doing some real work for a living, and Danny's going to finally finish that print that's been on the press for him for like 3 days. You just put that screen in there just for show. Yeah.
No, I've just finished that job. That was that one.
All right, okay. And we will catch up with you next week. All that remains to be said is I'll see you.
See you in a bit.
From me, Tony P, and
Danny D, Flipper Sweep and Co. Catch you all later. Catch you all on flip side, mother flippers. That was American, wasn't it? I'm very American.
It's Friday night, I'm within me rights. I want a Chippy Tea.